Okay guys, welcome back. This is Shrikant again. This is our sixth live session regarding SQL Server basic understanding. So far we have understood a lot of things like creating table, creating database, um, creating views. Just for understanding purpose, the main intention of this live streaming is to give an idea to you guys and be comfortable with SQL Server. Okay, today's we are going to cover few interesting topic in SQL Server which are basic and which are very important to know. As you guys know, we have a table in a SQL Server. So whatever the table we have seen so far are the permanent tables. So those are the permanent tables. So permanent tables are those table which are permanent to the system, right? So permanent table are such table which are permanent system. What does it mean? It means that if you create the structure of a table, that table will be exist if we close the SQL Server session. What does it mean? If I say I want to create a table, and if I execute the query, and after some time if I'll come back again and I want to see the table, so I can see that table. So that table get created permanently, and that table will be accessible for other user also. So for example, I have a user 1 and that user 1 is creating a table and he is creating a permanent table in the system. So that table will be accessible for all the users though they have not created, right? So this is a permanent table. But sometime when we do working with a SQL queries or some complex kind of business logic, we deal with the temporary table. So sometimes we need to have a table which will be created on the fly for some temporary calculation purposes, right? So based on that we have a temporary table concept also. Okay, so there are two kind of table. The first table is called as a permanent table. Another is temporary table. Great. We discuss about the permanent table. Now we are going to talk about temporary table. Great. We call it as a temp table in SQL Server. So there are two kind of temporary table in a SQL Server. In that, the first is a local temporary table. Another is called as the global temporary table. Okay, so let's try to understand one by one what is local temporary table and what is global temporary table. Before that, we need to understand a simple concept of a session. So you can see here I have opened a new window. So basically at the background, when I open a new window, a new connection will be set up with a SQL Server, right? So number of connections are called as sessions. So you can see here there is a number 55, and here you can see 54, 53, and again if I am opening a new tab, you can see a 57. Here if you come here and see new query, you will see the another number 58. So basically these are different sessions creating in the SQL Server at background. So these are very important. So let's assume you are connecting SQL Server or database from the C#. So that time so that time the connection will be set up with the SQL Server and the new session will be created. Great. Now here we can see there are 4 windows open, so 4 sessions are there in the system. Great. So 4 sessions will be created. So based on session, this temporary table has a scope. Great. For example, now I am in a session 57. So this is my one session. I am going to create a table. So I am going to create a table, for example, one temporary table. So I am going to create a temporary table here. So first of all, we need to understand how to write the temporary table first of all. So it's like the syntax is like a permanent table itself, but there is a difference. If we want to specify the local temporary table, then it will always start with a single hash. For example, I am creating the table like create table test local table. This is the table which I am going to create, and I am specifying column as id, as in name as varchar 500. So this is my permanent table, and if I create this table here, I can access this table in any session. Anyone can access this table, right? And if I want to create a local temporary table here, then what I need to do, that I need to write the same syntax like this. I need to write a same syntax like this and write single hash before this. If I specify single hash before this, then it means that it's a local, temporary table. So basically, let's create it, and now let's run it. And now I'm in a master database. Let's first of all change the database. Use e-travel. So e-travel is my database. Now I am in e-travel. I am going to create this table now. I created this table hash test table. Let's copy this and let's see that how do we see the data in it. Let's use it like a permanent table. How do we use it? We can see here this query is giving me an output, and which is showing me the column in it. As it doesn't have a data, so definitely it won't show us a data. Now I am copying this same query. I am going to the next window and I am typing there and I am executing it. I can see an error. The error, let's read the error. Error is invalid object name hash test local table. What does it mean? I can access this table in this window, but I can't access this table in another window. So basically, this is my one session and another session. I can access the table where I created the same table in that session, but I can't access the same table in another session. though my table is present in the namedb. Now let's run again, and if I am running this query again, I will see the same error that this table doesn't exist. So basically let's understand why this is happening. So this name itself suggests it's a local, it's local to the session. Now if you have a requirement that you want to create a temporary table and you want to access that temporary table to other session, so you need to create another table with a double hash. Adding a 2 hash means it's a global temporary table, right? Adding a single hash means it's a local temporary table. Adding a double hash means it's a global temporary table. Now select the query, execute it. We'll see that this table has been created. Let's copy it again, come here, then type the same retrieval query, select star from double test. Now let's run it. Now again we'll see this query is returning me an output which is showing me 2 column. As it doesn't have any data, obviously it will show me the blank rows as it doesn't have data. Now this query is runnable in this session. Again I'm copying this same query, I'm going to the another session and typing it here, running it there. Let's see the output. Now here I am able to access that table, but I'm not able to access the above table. So basically when I say it's a local temporary table, when I create table with a single hash, I can't access that table in another session. But if I create a table with a double hash, that's a global temporary table, I can access that table in another session. These are very important to good start for any SQL Server developer. These are a basic concept. Now again I'm going to show you one more thing. Now what I'm going to do, this is my session 57, so I'm closing this window. Closing window is just killing the session, but I can't kill it here. I need to come here, another tab, and I need to close it. Otherwise simply Ctrl X and close this session. Now I have closed the session where I created this 2 table, but as we know the single hash table was not accessible earlier also. Let's run it and let's see. Now the single hash table, that's a local table, is not accessible in another session, but we created a table with a double hash, that's a global temporary table, and that table was accessible in this session. Now I'm going to run this query again and we'll see this query will give me anything or not. Again, now let's see, this is really interesting thing. This query is not returning me anything and it's giving me an error that this table doesn't exist, right? But 2 minutes before we have seen this query was giving me the output. This table was accessible, but now this table is not accessible. So it means that the scope of a global temporary table will be exist until the session has a live when it is created. The session where the global table has been created and that is closed, the table will also be dropped automatically. You don't need to do it anything. So this is basically the difference between the local temporary table and global temporary table. When we start programming with advanced query writing, that time we need to have the idea about the local and global. Global is not used that much, but as a concept we should know it. But local temporary table is very important and we should always know it, right? Great. So so far we have covered the local temporary table, global temporary table, and I hope you guys don't have any doubt related with the local and the global temporary table. So just to recap, we have covered what? We talk about the permanent table. We talk about permanent table. What is permanent table? Permanent table is a kind of table once it is created, it will be accessible for others and it will be available. Temporary table is based on the session. When the session has been closed, the table will be dropped automatically, or you can drop this table by normal query like drop table, like that. Great. Okay, now we in the temp table we talk about the local temp table, then we talk about the global temp table. Few important point again I want to add it here. The temporary table will create it in a database, and that database is a tempdb. You can add an index on a temp table, like how you can add on a permanent table. Index part we'll talk about when we'll move to that part, but we can create index on a temp table, right? And also we can drop a table like this. We haven't mentioned, but the syntax for dropping any local or global temp table is like this. But if you haven't closed the if you want drop the table will drop automatically when the session will be closed. Great. There are a few important point now we are going to talk, which are important. Now we are going to understand some operator, like and not like, in and not in. Then we'll move some interesting part. Now let's try to understand this operator, like, not like, union, sorry, in, not in. For example, if we have a table, let's create a table, create table test test me id where can insert some data. You can make it identity. Last session we talk about the operator union. Let's create table and insert data in the table, and let's run it. Now we create a table, we loaded data in the table, and now we are going to retrieve the data from the table. Now we can see here two entries are there in the table. Great. Let's start with operator like and not like. For example, my requirement is to get me the record where it contains the 1. So how I can write that? I can write like this. I need to use the operator like. So before that I need to specify on which column I want to specify the query. So my query column is name, then like 1. Let's select and let's run the query. It will give me the output of content. So it will check for a specific text in a column, and those column are get matched, it will give me output. If I specify 2, it will give me 2. So now my requirement, I want all the record where it doesn't have the 2 in the text, so it will give me the 1, right? Another. Now let's talk about in operator. For example, I want to write a query where I need to have all the id which I specify here. So id in 1. Now this query will give me the output where it has id equal to 1 or 1. You can specify as many as value in the in clause, like how I specified, it will give me 2. But if I specify not in, what does it mean? Actually, I want all record from the test me table where it doesn't have id equal to 1 and 2. It won't give me anything, right? because I don't want 1 and 2. So I'm adding one record in the table, running it, and again coming back here and running the query, and I'll see here 3. So I'm getting the record. So we talk about these two differences. Now we are going to talk about more interesting see part is data import export. So sometime what happen, when we work on a some ETL, that's a extract transfer load part, ETL activity. That time we have a data in a multiple data sources, like we have a data in Excel file, we might have a data in a text file, we might data have in another database like Oracle, Postgres, MySQL. So different data sources might have the different data, and the structure for those data might be different, right? So you need to do what? You need to take all the data into the database, and then you need to perform some operation, and then finally you need to combine all that data and need to insert data into the main table. So import and export part deals with very important thing, like import means what? Import means taking a data from multiple sources into your system, right? And export means whatever the data you have in your system, and take that data and send back to the other data sources. Like you can send it back to the Excel, you can send it back to the tab 5, you can send it back to the CSV, or you can send it back to the other database like Oracle. So there are a different MSBI tool we have in this, or different tool in MSBI we have SSIs for that. But in SQL Server we have a simple utility for getting the data from few sources and getting and moving it back to the file also. Now we are going to talk about the import wizard. In the next video we will be talking about the export part, but let's try to understand. So for that, what you need to do, you need to select your respective database. My database is any database I can take. My database is travel. You need to select your respective database, then you need to right click on the database, then you need to go to the task. In the task section you will see lot of different options. Out of that you need to select the import data task. The moment you will click on a import data task, one pop-up will come, and that pop-up will ask you from where you want to have a data, right? Right now I don't have anything, so it will ask you where do you want to load the data. Let's wait and let's load it. Meanwhile, what will we do? Meanwhile, we'll create a new folder In the folder, let's create any file. Let's create a text file. So this is my plain data. You can specify here the first name, last name. Let's save it. Right click here, select the file. As it is my text file, so I'm specifying it as a flat files. Let's wait and let's read this sources. Here we need to select our file, the file we have just created. Let's go to that folder and select the file. Click on open, then columns, it will select the column. So I'm specifying a tab. So it is considering only a single column. What will we do here now? We'll change something in the file. Or you can make it a comma comma separated. Let's save it. Let's go back to the pop-up again, go back, select file once again. Okay, select the data. So I want to take it to the table. In the next window, it will ask us the name for the table. I'm giving it as a test one. My text file. This is name of my table. Select it. Then let's see how many columns we'll see in the output. It will show us the only one column. That's fine for time being. I won't just want to show you the demo because this is not a properly formatted file. Then create next, then create on a finish. So if everything is okay, we'll see no error message and we'll see everything has been done successfully. We'll close it. can see this first one because we copied only headers only, not data. Okay, in the next video I will be talking about more in detail, like import and export wizard with the multiple file, like text file, then excel file, and lot of files. So in the next session we'll be discussing about only import and export wizard in detail. Hope you guys like and enjoyed our 6th live session regarding the SQL Server basic training. And if you guys like, please don't forget to comment or like and share our YouTube channel. And thanks for watching. Have a great day.